Hi, Jean-Marc here from Home Inspection Services. We are doing an inspection on the garage roof specifically. We saw a while ago that this roof was actually leaning. It's actually a roof in an area that we pass by quite often. We told the client that this roof's going to cave in soon, and literally within 6 months, this is what we found. So we're just going to take you through quickly. This is the carnage which could actually kill somebody if one doesn't look after your property properly and you don't properly maintain, get annual inspections done for maintenance purposes. This is the kind of thing that can happen, and this is going to be hundreds of thousands of rands to repair. So we're just looking at the wall plates. This is what's left of them. So this is the board that's basically put between the wall and the roof trusses and roof tiles, and we can very clearly see over here that this is disintegrated through a lot of water over the years. And what also happens very often is ants can get in here. Unfortunately, or thankfully, there was no ants over here, but we can very clearly see, and Jack's also pointing out, my colleague's also pointing out on this truss how much water has actually come in. So you can actually see how this truss over here has literally broken in half at one of the weakest sections of the truss at these knots. So it wasn't a very good truss to actually start off with as well. The other issue that we found is that asbestos paneling was actually used as ceiling and siding material on the roof. So this is now considered a hazard, a health hazard, because this now becomes friable and one can breathe it in, and it can actually become asbestosis in your body. So as a result of the sudden impact or implosion of this roof collapsing inside the building, we now have additional issues, structural problems. As you can see from these beams over here, we've actually got some rotation of these walls, as well as issues over here with serious movement in the structure. So we're going to have to get an engineer out here to make sure that this is structurally sound before any work is done. Walking around the building, another crack that we saw, that's a clear crack, wider at the top, which goes narrow to the bottom, which is a clear indication that this wall has actually received a lot of pressure from the roof, which has caused this wall to actually pop out, and that's where you get that wider crack at the top and smaller as you go down. So this, I doubt very strongly whether a structural engineer would actually approve for another roof to be installed on top of this structure. So we can see that these cracks are very recent. That happened actually today when this building collapsed, and this is really further indication that this building has received like an explosion inside the building. These walls have actually expanded through the implosion of that roof coming down on the inside of the building. So we're going to have to get an engineer. I've been saying it several times, but the engineer is going to have to come out here and give us approval if we're going to put another roof on here. One of the other things that I've mentioned to this client before is the drainage system, the roof drainage system. This gutter, unfortunately, was already half falling off before the roof actually fell in. And the problem was that this roof wasn't properly installed, and the drainage, the roof drainage was also not properly installed. So it's very likely that on the roof as well we had weakening trusses because of leaking through the roof, and of course gutters that aren't working properly are going to cause structural problems around the building, because water will then seep in to the soils around the building, causing movement in the structure as well. So we're going to go inside and just have a look. You can see that this roof was completely collapsed inside this building. It is important to note that we know where to walk and where not to walk, because this can be dangerous. So make sure you are getting a professional out to inspect this kind of thing, and don't walk in this kind of a carnage situation by yourself. Yeah, Jack, can't go further than that. So as we can see from this truss over here, this is just about to fall as well, and there are several conditions in here that make this an extremely dangerous scenario. So getting a structural engineer and somebody out here that knows what they're doing to clean this up would be a very good idea.
Okay.
So as we can see, the trusses were tied properly onto the wall plates, but from what we saw before is that the trusses actually weren't vertical, they were actually installed leaning slightly, and that caused a lateral or side type of force with the weight of the tiled roof on it that actually caused this whole roof to cave in that way and then into the structure. So it's important that when a structure is properly installed that one gets a proper inspection done to see that the installation and the building work has actually been done correctly. It was very interesting to see how these trusses have literally broken in half, and if I can explain to you, it's basically like a deck of cards or dominoes. If you can think of all the trusses that are installed like this, and they were leaning slightly, and then they all fell like this and broke as the weight of the roof tiles actually came down on the trusses.